Hello?
Hi, Eric. Is that right?
Hi.
Hi. I was just signing on early. I was going to start at 5 to kind of walk through a couple things, probably take attendance. There's a few sections, but I just invited everybody to this one because that would make more sense
Yeah.
instead of
Uh,
having
I,
three
I'm the
separate
one who yeah.
meetings. What was that?
I'm the one who emailed you earlier about the whole did you see my email?
Was it today?
Yes. About
I was in there earlier. I don't know if I saw it yet. I can look now, though. I mean, that's no
it
problem.
doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. It's just about how like we you sent out this email for the meeting yesterday and I didn't see this class on my schedule, so I didn't know when it would be. All it said was online 4 times, and I originally had work today, but thankfully it I didn't for other reasons, so it's all right then.
Okay.
I
So,
just
what?
yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. I see a few different emails. So, I can keep. So my plan was to. There's a couple things going on, and this is all recorded, and I can post recordings of these. So this is not a bit like in terms of it being like asynchronous. And I can try to turn my camera on here. So
Oh yeah, I did ask for it. It might be a recording or something. Uh, it's all good.
okay.
I'm Lucas, by the way.
Nice to meet you,
Fine.
Lucas, not Eric. Okay.
Not Eric. Yeah, it's I think it's something to do with the account and stuff. Is there any way to like rename myself, or is it possible?
Yeah, I can help you with that. Hang on. I can actually do that. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna. You said it's Lucas, right? Hang on. Lucas or Luk?
Lucas.
There you go.
Yeah. Uh, no, you don't need to bother with my last name. It's long. It's a long one.
Okay.
It's a long, complicated one.
So I think it's going to help everybody if we meet online weekly. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to have any assignments due this week. I'm not going to have anything due until next week, just to keep it easy on everybody because there's a configuration issue, and I'll repeat this again at 5, involving the textbook and the publisher, which will ultimately help you guys all with online, which is using the Connect version electronically, where there's chapters and some stuff that you'll do for problems that will go directly back into Connect as you're doing it, along with what I've put out there. So what my plan was either like a meet and greet and or walk you guys through some of the material tonight. But realistically, in terms of when I can meet, it will probably be like Tuesday nights. What I've usually done in the past when I've taught a stats course is I usually will block out an hour, at least an hour or two, depending on what's going to help you guys the most. Whether it's PowerPoints explaining it. Now, what I've done is I've taught statistics a lot, and I had some previous recordings of another from another school covering the same content with my own worksheets, breaking it down that I've already put in Canvas just to help you all. But that those worksheets are not required for this course. They're just, I had stats information breaking things down readily available. What I think would help everybody would be meeting once a week, probably for 2 or 3 hours, because sometimes it takes so long to get through the material. Not like 4, anything crazy, maybe an hour and a half or 2.5 or something, and then walking you guys through the stuff conceptually, also using that for attendance and explaining the stuff like the projects. But I typically wouldn't be able to meet on a Thursday. Now, because it's online asynchronous, and don't worry if you're coming in, I am recording and I can repeat these things again. That's no problem. I could literally upload the recording every week, but we would have to have some sort of way to track attendance if you all can make the live session. Maybe there could be something that you could email me about the content or something that I know you watched it or something so that I could work with you guys on attendance. What had happened is it was supposed to be a face to face course, but because of staffing and mine and other faculty availability, they had to make it fully online. But I don't want you guys floundering in the material because I know the material's dense. I've taught it several times. I want to see you all do really well in the course. So I'm thinking a live meeting probably makes sense. Like I said, probably Tuesday nights, maybe like 6:30 to 9:30, just once a week. And then the purpose of that would be to explain everything. Now, if for some reason that doesn't work with everyone's schedule, I can record it, but I gotta have a way to know that you actually like watched it or something. And maybe we can talk about like a pool. I know I'm starting before 5. I can repeat any of this again, totally recording. Would a Tuesday night work for everybody? Because I know I could do that. I could also certainly meet on a weekend, but I think a Tuesday would be better. And I'm thinking you're all probably wanting like some sort of weekly live session from the email. So what ended up happening is with the hiring process and the steps and everything in IT, things got a little delayed. So I need like a day or two to like put a few more things into the class, and I'm working directly with the Connect folks on that, and that should happen probably tomorrow night. But from all the emails from I think nearly everybody that's in the room, I'm thinking
Sure.
a weekly session would make sense. Is that a safe assumption? You guys want to give me some thumbs up or use your mics on
Uh,
that?
a question.
Yeah.
So the work would be like for this class. I haven't gotten a lot of understanding about. So it's like we're all gonna our work will all be like on the computer, assigned whenever it's assigned, and we submit it off. So no like no in-person meetings. That's what's
That's what it was supposed to be originally, but I'm open to doing weekly meetings if that would help you guys.
all right.
What I'm saying is like my schedule is I can probably do Tuesday once a week for a few hours at a time, depending on what we need. I don't want anyone feeling like, oh my gosh, the professor's not available. I'm not sure what's going on. We're It's online asynchronous, so we're not required to necessarily meet weekly, but I'm thinking maybe we should because of the content. And I can also talk to you guys about like assignments, projects, stuff that's due, etc., so that there's really no points of confusion or concern. Because I know that you were probably all expecting, and I'm doing one Zoom for the 3 sections because I think that makes the most sense. Like, I don't think it makes a ton of sense to do 3 separate sessions. Now, if you all have strong feelings on that, you can certainly voice those. That's why there's so many people in the Zoom room. It's fine. I have a corporate account with Zoom. Like, it can be unlimited. It doesn't matter how many people are in the room. So that you're not feeling like, hey, what the heck do I do? Because I know initially, I'm pretty sure for every section, this was supposed to be a face to face class. So, what I'm thinking is maybe trying to find a way to give you guys the best of both worlds. Like, we meet once a week. I know I can do that time. I'm hoping that time could work for all or many of you. If it doesn't work, I can certainly record it. Um, Now, in terms of what the syllabus says about constituting attendance, we can have other ways to track attendance. It could be if you didn't, if you don't show up on Zoom, you write something so I know you've done it. I could use potentially the assignments to track attendance. Like I could work with you on that policy of it being online asynchronous, but I just want everyone to be clear on like what we're doing week to week. It's not. It's there's going to be some assignments in Connect that will enhance your understanding. And then there will also be like 2 projects, a midterm, a final, like exam 1, 2, and 3, like per the syllabus. Some of that stuff I need to update accordingly because I'm gonna actually put that into Connect rather than have it live inside um, Canvas for you guys. In fact, I'll just hide that. You have 2 projects. I put some dates in there early so you guys would be able to knock them out. But I'm really thinking maybe we all meet, like I said, once a week. I mean, how do y'all feel about that? And I can make it not required because it's Um, hang on,
Nope,
unpublished.
you were kind of breaking up. I mean, meeting once a week probably wouldn't be bad.
Would that work for you guys? Because and like I really want to know that so I'm in my email a lot. I will go as far as let me post this to everyone in the meeting. Okay, I did put this in here. This is my cell number, guys. Um, Texting and calling is okay. Also, I do not want anyone feeling like you can't reach me or anything's unclear in the class. Um, there there are some group projects which are absolutely aligned. They're not anything that we're doing yet. But what I was thinking is what might make sense for the use of our time would be you
My
come to
God.
class once a week, I record, I walk you through the
Oh my God.
content.
So stupid.
Can you hear me? What sounds stupid? Is that for me?
Sorry. Yeah, yeah, my Wi-Fi. I thought my Wi-Fi was cutting out. No, it's good now, I think. Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear you. Thank you.
Okay. So what I was thinking is, and this can be, and tonight it can certainly be informal. I mean, it doesn't have to be like as formal, or I can walk you guys through stuff tonight. Would be we meet weekly, probably on Tuesdays. I walk you through the material, the upcoming assignments, etc. I record for those of you whose time doesn't work. What my experience tells me is usually it takes a few hours of our time, usually once a week. I just posted my um, I'm going to post that again right now for everybody in case you missed it. I'm posting my cell phone number in the chat. I want you guys to reach out if anything feels like it doesn't make sense or it's confusing, etc. Like I said, attendance. I don't have to necessarily take attendance. It can just be you guys completing the projects. I have the academic freedom to not require that, and it would probably be like it's probably 6:30 to 9:30 or 7 to 10. Probably 6:30 to 9:30. That's probably because that's earlier for you guys, or less depending on what we get through weekly. I record that. I should be able to upload the file. Probably not to like YouTube, although I could. I believe as long as the recording works, I should be able to upload the file directly into Canvas for everybody, for all the sections. That's why because like I said, you're all in this. There's multiple sections, but it's all the same homework and stuff. And then you could just go. You if you're able to attend, you're able to attend. If you're not able to attend. Let me see attendance. Why isn't attendance in there? Oh, that's not in there either. Hang on, let me see if the navigation. That's not in there either. Because it's online asynchronous. Okay. Oh no, it is in there. Okay. All right. Well, can we do attendance? Will that work? There's a lot of you. Bronson, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool. Brady, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Cool. Colin, Conley, Haley. I think I just saw you. You're here, right,
I'm
Haley?
here.
Cool. Robert Getoff. By the way, guys, I'm reading the names if for OA1 section, so I can just say first names. If you're in OA3 or 4, just don't tell me you're here, and then I'll do that next. Robert, I don't think you're here. That's okay. Naomi, are you here?
No, I'm here. I'm here. I
Oh,
couldn't get my microphone to work.
okay. I'll mark you here. Alessandra, I think you're here. I think I saw you. Alessandra? No, okay. Gusty, is that right? Gust? Are you here? No. Brandon, I think you're here. Tavish, Dante, Bohus. My gosh, if I don't sound like your parents, please correct me.
I'm
Uh,
here.
Bohuslav,
Yeah, it's
Oh,
me.
what up, big dog?
Hey, what's up, Nick?
Brennan.
I'm here.
Perfect. Got you. Kate Reidenbach,
I'm here.
Dominic. Richardson. Dominic Richardson, okay. Eli Roman. Ava Chavez. Carter Stevenson. Jordan Suber. Joshua Thang. Joshua Thang, is that right?
Yep, I'm right here.
Okay, cool. Elizabeth Vicenteno. Genevieve
Say
Wagner.
Nicholas.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Did you say Nick Hippolyta?
Nick? Not yet, but there's 3 sections, so I'm going to do each section. I'm doing section 1 right now. Oh, Elizabeth, you just entered. Okay. Elizabeth. You're here, Genevieve Wagner. I see you.
I'm here.
Garrett Wilson. Sheridan Young. Okay. All right. So that's the first section. I'm going to go to OA3. And attendance. So attendance, like I said, we could certainly have multiple sections, but I think it doesn't make a lot of sense to, when I'm recording anyways, to meet 3 separate times. Alexander Arce. Alexander. Casper. Okay.
Here. Yeah, I'm here.
Caden.
I'm here.
Cool. Mackenzie.
Here.
Lilia Cortez. Justin Donegan. Riley Dunbar. Shong Her.
Here.
Ashlyn Hickey.
Here.
Troy Cashul.
Here.
Logan Kessling.
Here.
Perfect. Charlotte LaMonica.
Here.
Lauren Mantell. Cynthia Martinez. Benjamin Muhish. Benjamin. Stephanie Ortiz. Sonia Proxa.
Here.
Jenna Rudzinski. Madeline Sander. Sky Sanford. I think I saw you, Sky. Are you here? Sky? Oh, okay. Lauren Sundberg.
Here.
Perfect. Matthew Vergamini. All right. Natalia Vitvitska. Natalia Vitvitska. All right. David Wilk. All right. We got one more section. Attendance. All right. Nathan Aban.
I'm here.
Zachary Altabarani.
Here.
Perfect. Vito Brandonicio.
I'm here.
James Bullock.
Here.
Nithan Dehidia.
Here.
William Urbeck. Lucas
Here, Florkowitz.
Florkowitz. Okay. Lucas Furlane. Gracie Grover. Saman Hussein. Saman Hassan. Nicholas Ipima.
Here.
Isaac Lanneborn. Jesus Lara. Alexandros. Okay, yeah, I saw your message. Alex Neglak. Sarah Nelson.
I'm here.
Perfect. Drew Patterson. Carson Prunty.
Here.
Jonathan Rossi. Paris Silencia. Silenikia. Casper Serwiak.
Here.
I see you. Lillian Tochimani. Dalto Watanabe.
Here.
George Youssef.
Here.
Perfect. Okay, that's the attendance for everybody. That might be our only thing. Okay, so so don't worry about what you see in Canvas right now. I'm not going to have any due dates until at least next week. What I could do for everybody, since we've all met tonight, is I could give you some background and some basics on statistics based on kind of what you're probably going to be reading or will be reading shortly, so that there's stuff that you can just. Why is it not working? Oh, that's why. No, we don't want that. Okay. Modules. Hang on. Yeah, this will work. Let's give you guys some context. Okay, so I have a PowerPoint that I should be able to share in just a second. I do have two screens here, so if I'm looking away, it's because I'm looking at the other screen. Whenever I've had to lecture on Zoom, which I'm absolutely delighted and happy to do, the thing that I can't always gauge is the pace, because I can't see you guys. Because if this was a face-to-face class, I would be able to see you guys. So what I usually do is I spend about a minute or two per slide. But if you're the type of person that's like, hey, I want to take notes and stuff, I'd want you guys to like slow me down or say something, or maybe like start doing thumbs up when you've like seen the information or something like that.
Could you
Without,
put the slides on Canvas possibly?
they're already there.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you.
This would be so. What you're looking for, if you're just trying to follow along here, it would be business stats one. Here, actually, I can show you. If you give me a second, I'll do a new share, and I'll just show you where that is in Canvas. Now, there's three sections, but they all they're like they're in a sense a copy of each other. They all look the same. So I'm going to share my desktop too, and show you where this is located, and then I'll pull it up, and maybe we can talk through it with questions, concerns, and at least give you guys some background. And then as I coordinate tomorrow night with the publisher and connect and everything so that all the pieces that should be there are there, then I'm thinking I can provide additional guidance on everything starting on Tuesday. Right now, it is set up for you guys to do projects, but not for like several weeks. Maybe we can talk about that as well. But for the moment, what we're going to do is we're going to look at Chapter 1, Business Stats Chapter 1. I'll start with that and then maybe talk about the project. But see, I don't want to talk about the project yet because I might pull it. I want to see what ends up happening tomorrow when I have a chance to talk to them about the configuration. I don't want to give you guys information you're not going to use. So, yeah, that's totally fine in the chat. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, so that's right here. So I'm pulling this up right here, and then I literally download it, and I'll walk through that. And then once the configuration issue gets solved, which should be tomorrow night, I'll either post something and or cover it on Tuesday night, and I'll send the Zoom invite out, and then I'll give you guys additional guidance in terms of what's due moving forward. But we're going to say until we meet on Tuesday, I'm not going to assign anything that you have to be concerned about other than like potentially reading or doing modules here until we meet again. I'm just going to give you guys a background on stats tonight. And did everybody get the phone number? Because I did put my cell phone number in there. I can put that in there again. Email is totally fine, by the way, but the phone is quicker. I just want to be super available to you guys. You're not like, what is this? What's going on, etc. I do teach at more than one school, and I teach full time and part time, so I can't always respond immediately, but I will respond. And if it's ever more than 24 hours of not hearing from me, I want you to hit me up again and be like, what's going on? Just respectfully, and I will totally talk to you. Generally, I'm really good about coming back on text or like, hey, I was just teaching a class. What's the thing? Or if we need to meet on Zoom, email, etc. So here we go. Why is that not showing up? Hang on. Want this to go like that. Was everybody able to see a moment ago where that PowerPoint was housed? Yes? No? Thumbs up? Business Stats Chapter 1 is what you're looking for. Okay, cool. Just so I know you guys are like following along. Awesome. Cool. All right. So let me move this over here. And I have taught statistics a lot, and I'm familiar with the material that I'm teaching you guys this semester. I've taught it for literally years. If there's ever a question on something, you can always ask it. I will never dodge a question. If you ask me something that's unusual or you throw a curveball my way and I've never seen the thing that you're asking me, I might say I need to pause, but I will get back to you. I won't like not tell you what the thing is. I'll just say, hey, I gotta look into this, or I gotta walk through it. So tonight, this is what we're gonna talk about, which is just some basic stuff. I'm probably going to skip the SPSS for now because I don't think for this class that is part of the curriculum. This is just the content for week 1, so we're probably going to skip our last bullet point here. So I'll put all of it on here so you can see it. Okay, so you have statistics, which are our mathematical procedures used to summarize, analyze, and interpret observations. You see this every day in real life. If you go to like a sub shop and they have you rate how things went, or like a Yelp score, that's your statistics, that's your data. Those are raw scores and quantitative analysis. We have descriptive, which is like, here's what the data is, and just showing it different ways, tables, charts, graphs, etc. And then we have inferential, which is like interpreting meaning, like what does it mean? So, and of course, the population needs to be representative. So, for example, I had a doctoral student that did some research on gang dissidents, why gang members would leave gangs. It was usually things like found God, got married, went to jail for a crime, stuff like that. And she looked for like the repetition of the information. That was qualitative data. That's like storytelling. Quantitative, that's numbers. Quantitative plus qualitative, that's like a mixed methodology telling the story. So, as you're looking at this, do you have any questions on what you see on this slide? And or give me thumbs up as you guys are taking notes, or just taking that information in so that I can be mindful of the pace on this first piece of information here. Okay. Always speak up. If I get a bunch of thumbs up and I go to the next slide and you're like, oh, I missed that, tell me to go back and I will. So why do we do this? We want to, there's a research application. So we might ask a question, for example, like, does adding sugar to grapefruit juice increase the intake of the juice? Because maybe it tastes better, right? So then we'll set up a research study. We'll select participants and create groups. 2 groups drink grapefruit juice, one with and one without sugar added. Then we'll measure the amount consumed of the grapefruit juice in milliliters, and then we're going to measure the behavior. So like, what happened? Was there more people consuming the grapefruit juice? Then we'll compare the amount in each group, both our control group and our experimental group, with one without the sugar, one with, and then we'll evaluate our findings and see if there's a noticeable difference. So, again, on this one, feedback, questions, concerns, comments, I can certainly leave that slide up if you're, say, taking your manual notes, etc. So assessing data with statistics, we have descriptive statistics, procedures typically used to quantify measured behaviors. So again, that's that data summary, tables, graphs, single values. Inferential statistics, that's like meaning. Data typically drawn from a portion of the overall group of interest that allows researchers to make inferences about parameters in a population based on a sample of data. So, like, why does it matter? Like, what is the meaning? That's what we're looking for when we talk about inferential statistics. Um, whether we're talking about like a customer experience, behavior, subjective well-being, what drives happiness, which might be money. And I know that might sound shallow, but the wealthiest nations in the world that have the most money report the highest amounts of happiness. What do you have, Lucas? What's your question?
Oh, I was gonna ask for an example of an inferential statistic. What?
So I I so I have this assignment that I give in that I've given before in another stats course requiring an infographic. And what it is, it's usually tied to like the major. I know the majors in this virtual room could vary. And um, like the meaning, like why are you studying psychology or nursing, etc. What's the meaning to you? Or for example, if we're like looking at like customer service experience, where are we doing something really well as a company, for example, or where maybe are we dropping the ball? And then that tells us meaning behind what the data is telling us. Or like for example, when I was doing my doctoral practicum, I was analyzing some data based on actually looking at college enrollment numbers and having realistic goals in terms of continuing to have enough students for the college. And I looked at things like the mean or the average, and then having realistic goals for the recruiters based on previous trends and data. So, like, meaning or inferences or like things that you see that will happen with like a population or like some group behavior. Or another example that I've used before in terms of like meaning, later on in some more advanced part of this class, I looked at, for example, if, say, a manager is sending jokes around the office to like lighten up like the grind, is it actually working? Well, there's ways to mathematically look at that and see how little off task people are versus when this event or that event happened. And then that would allow us to infer like meaning, like should we continue the behavior or not continue the behavior, or do language immersion courses in the native language of the native speaker help with greater understanding? And then you would take a group of students that would have like the information being taught in their native language versus not being taught in their native language, and then you look at the differences in scores, and then you would infer, does this make sense in terms of the meaning behind the data you're looking at? Does that help answer your question, or does that sound like unclear or clear? Is that, tell me, give me some feedback. A thumbs up, thumbs down, Mike.
I think I understand a little better, but
Oh, maybe your colleague who has a
I'm
question
all right
can.
with it.
What
Yeah,
was that?
thank you.
Maybe the question from your colleague might help us clarify more and continue to ask questions. And everybody ask questions until it's clear, or ask it again and have me explain it again, because I don't want you leaving feeling unclear. What do you have? You want me to rename you? I don't know. I don't want to call you Samsung. I can rename you if you tell me your name.
Hello, Professor. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's your name?
This is Alexandros Libridis. How are you?
Good. You said it really fast. Tell me your name again.
Uh, I said this is Alexandros Libridis.
Got you, Alexander. Boom. Cool. All right. Yeah. What do you got?
Yeah, I mentioned it on the chat as well. Alexandros Libridis.
Sandros, got you. Hang on, I can get that right. Zandros, like that, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
So, talking about native languages, I mean, I'm a Greek American, so I really do understand how that works. I also wanted to ask, based on the wealthiest nations and one of the nations who are not as economically independent yet. I'm gonna agree with you on that factor as well. But I have a question. Why do most nations who are not as economically developed, financially developed, I'm going to say, tend to not have as much as a vision. But for example, I'm going to bring some very good examples of very stable and very healthy, economically stable nations, such as the United States, Canada, China. They they have even on the sector of finance or even on the sector of technology, which those two I believe in the future are going to merge. They're having a bigger um, ideas and they want to create more, but the less developed nations are not having those. They're not as visionary as we might say. I wanted to ask you that. Why is that the case? Because I feel that less developed countries should be having more visions towards on becoming better.
Probably education. It's probably education.
Yeah.
I think it's education because you only know what you don't know. And even like this map I pulled up that I'm sharing with you guys right now, it doesn't mean that the only factor that drives happiness is money, and it doesn't mean that like obviously the most important thing is those interpersonal relationships that we all develop with each other, friends, family, romantic or otherwise. But if you make enough money to afford your bills and save and go on vacations and you have the opportunity to have those experiences that go into your core memory and you get a chance to unplug and enjoy that experience, that does say, in terms of like looking at some data and some meaning and inferring, it does work. Now, we could also have a separate conversation about what constitutes happiness, like what was actually measured here in terms of the behavior that gave us happiness, because we'd want to make sure that's being measured accurately as well. I hope I'm answering your question. If you feel like I'm not, I want you to jump in, either one of you, Lucas or Alexandros.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. Education really plays a big role in that, and I believe it's also how I'm sorry if I'm gonna sound a little bit shallow as well. I feel like it's how people are being programmed because I know I'm growing up in Greece. People are more, as we might say in today's language, laid back, more not really thinking about tomorrow, but most people even the middle class in the US and people above the middle class, they're having investments and they're thinking about investing and buying more stocks or even in the real estate market, diversifying their portfolio and even having the passive income from the investments that I just mentioned. So I feel like it's education, as you said, or as most people will mention that they will call it programming, how they're being uh, taught by their parents at a young age, because I think that really plays a big, this is the greatest common factor. I'm not sure if that really complies with what you mentioned.
I think it does, because here's the thing: when we think about um, the really what you're talking about is the sort of the philosophy of things like work, and how we spend our time. And in America, and I'm a world traveler, so I don't say this lightly. In America, we work probably a lot more than we should, and the bigger boogeyman in the room is quite literally inflation. And what ends up happening is, in terms of the things that you mentioned, Alexandros, and like the value that we place on things, what ends up happening a lot of times is we spend so much of our lives working and not and kind of taking for granted the things that are important. Like I remember I used to work in a pretty toxic sales environment, and you know what? I never took vacations, and I think it was affecting mental health. Not like mental health, like getting some clinical thing that I couldn't deal with, just like happiness and joy and things of that nature. So when you think about culturally, the philosophy of the other countries taking things a little bit less seriously or a little bit more laid back, this is one of the few countries in the world where you can't survive on minimum wage. And as a world traveler, and I'm not anti-American by any means, I love being here. There's this lie that's proliferated that we're the greatest country in the world. And my Socratic question back is, are we? Because a lot of people are working really, really hard. And when I say the greater boogeyman in the room, you have tablet kids because parents give their kids tablets because they come home and they're exhausted, probably with an expletive in front of that to make that a clearer way to describe that, because you have two incomes just to survive. And usually, like, 40, 50, 60 years ago, it was one, and you had somebody that was in there doing that. So I hope I'm answering your question as we're kind of talking through this. Lucas or Alexandra, is whoever would like to talk first. I see you both have your hand raised.
You go first, Alexandros.
Thank you so much, Lucas. Are you sure you don't want to go first? Because I talk too much. So if you want to go first, that's okay with me.
All right then. Uh, I definitely agree with how what you said with how this isn't this we work way a lot too much, and we just this how the system's going. It's like people just keep working and working, and and we don't have time for they're losing a lot of time to just enjoy life, and it's like this like what's even the point of working if it's not to have a better life and so do more than just survive.
And is that what we all want? Don't we all want
Hmm.
to work less and enjoy life? But that I think that does speak back to inferential statistics. We're able to infer meaning in terms of how we're tracking how we work and why, like the quantitative amount of work. Like it's a lot. A lot of people have two, three, four jobs sometimes just to survive.
Exactly. That it's like it's like ridiculous. It's like they call it minimum wage, but uh, it's like why don't they don't have raising minimum wage, and it's like why don't they? It's like unsustainable. Feels unsustainable, and nothing's really being done about it. It
Yeah.
just we just assume it's gonna be better in the future, and there's just no change from the no real change.
Yeah. In places like, well, like in Madrid, in Spain, it's 70 euros a month for healthcare, whether you're working or not. That's just what it costs. You know, that's another bigger issue too. Like, how expensive is it just to have healthcare? Um,
I
and
mean,
we're
how
and
long
we're
does
thinking
it
it's going
take
to get
to
better,
see
but
a
is it going to get better? What was that, Nick?
How long does it take to see a doctor?
Yeah, in this country. So
Well, no,
that's
I meant in Spain for 70
oh
euros. I mean, are you getting to see a doctor next week? Are you waiting 3 months like Canada?
well, I know in Mexico you're seeing a doctor immediately, but in Mexico they're only making 40 to 60 thousand dollars a year USD, and they're not getting crazy wealthy, and you get tests back right away. And that's another thing, and that's all statistics. That's like, what does the data tell us, and then what does the meaning behind it? Because the meaning can be things like quality of life. Like, I absolutely love America, but you know what? If I could work fully online, I'd probably live in Mexico because a buddy of mine who looks like me lives in Guadalajara right now, and he says it's actually better. He access
You really
healthcare for
think?
his elderly parents. He said it's all just better, and we hear that's a third world country, but the quality of life sounds better every time I talk to him.
I
What
mean, you
else did you
think
want to say?
Guadalajara has better than Rush downtown?
The stories he tells me, it sure sounds like it. He said you don't wait. He said you don't wait days and days. You don't wait. You said you wait. You said you wait hours for
I
results.
mean,
I mean, I don't know. That might be apples and oranges, but the way he
I mean,
tells me the story makes me wonder.
we got Mayo Clinic. I
Yeah,
think it'd be hard to compete with that.
and that might be true. and we would look at the data and the experience to see that. And you're right, maybe so. But he said the healthcare that he experienced, which probably wasn't the Mayo Clinic or the Mayo Clinic, um, was, it was in California. That wasn't Illinois. So we want to make sure it's apples and apples and not apples and oranges. And yes, quality of care at a place like Rush or Mayo Clinic, yeah, absolutely going to be high quality. That's an excellent point. But he said that he didn't feel like there was a lack of quality with his experience. But I can't say, have you been to, Rush or the Mayo Clinic, because I don't think he has. So until we have that data point, then that would be an unknown. But that's an excellent point to bring up. We have Alexandros and iPhone, who I can rename. What do you got?
So, Professor, I do agree with you on that one as well. Actually, I wanted to mention something that as a student with a disability on my eyes, there is a reason I'm in Greece as of now, because I have my doctors over here and my surgery for the corneal removal that I had, because we had to remove the cornea, which is the front of the eye in both eyes. The cost for that surgery over here was 6,000 euros, which in the US was estimated roughly about $27,000. So we're talking about a big difference in the margins. Also, I'm in Greece right now, and as I mentioned on the email, I will be back on the 15th due to health issues. So, yeah, just to mention some stuff and highlight a couple of stuff. Greece, Europe, Madrid, all of these European countries. I know Italy, they have very good doctors. And in Greece, the healthcare system is very affordable, I can say. And healthcare is for free over here. I know in the US, one of the most affordable um, insurances for healthcare, I believe it's Meridian, they do not really provide good diagnosis for eyes, for eye cares, and you still do pay more, significantly more than in Europe. So, yeah, I do believe that. I don't want to sound bad. I do love America because America is the country who gave me all of these opportunities. But yeah, it's not the greatest country of them all. I'm not saying that Greece is, definitely not. It's definitely not. But yeah, I'm very. Uh, I do see things with logic, and I try not to become patriotic with either U.S. or Greece. I just like to look at the statistics, the demographics, the rates, and just try to decide and use logic and critical thinking.
Yeah, yeah, and like even in like internet speed, Sweden has the fastest. U.S. is like 20 or 30 internet speed, by the way. We are not the fastest internet in the world. Sweden has the fastest. Last time I checked, anecdotally, I had a student from Sweden once, and I said, "I bet you don't deal with buffering," and she was like, "What's buffering?" I'm like, "That's my point. Like they had way faster internet than us in terms of the speed." So just another thing
Also,
to
food.
add. What was that?
Also, food in Greece and Italy is Mediterranean food, even in Armenia or Georgia. Georgia, I mean the country in Europe, not the U.S. state. It's cleaner. It's not as processed. The meat, the vegetables, the fruits, they actually taste like fruits. Every time I eat tomatoes, for example, or a specific fruit in the US, they taste like plastic without trying to discriminate the food industry. But in Greece or Spain or even Portugal, when I went once with my family, food is way cleaner. And I think it's due to the climate as well, or the sun. I'm not completely sure, but yeah.
It's also the amount of sugar. There was a great 1940s sugar lobbying to convince people sugar was good. Everything in this country has sugar in it. If you go down to Mexico, there's literally a warning in Spanish on like soda cans that says this is excess sugar. Maybe you shouldn't drink it. It might not say the second half of that, but there's a minimum of this has too much sugar in it than it tells us, and we don't have those warning labels on our sodas here. So
Yeah, I saw that. I watched the documentary. It was even like the US has more sugar even on the soda, ketchup, mustard, and even the bread. The American bread for the Europeans, even the Greeks, tastes like cake. I had bread with a lentil soup once in the US, and I said, "Wow, this is not bread. This is cake."
Yeah.
So yeah, I do agree with you on that one.
Nice. What do you want to add, Bronson? You had your hand up too.
Yes. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I was just wondering where these Zooms would be uploaded after they're finished.
So what my plan to do would be to create a brand new module or tab in Canvas that's labeled something like Zoom. Oh, someone else is waiting for me to admit them. Hang on. Let me let me come in. Um, something that says something like class meetings or something that would be easy for us to all find, and I would create a separate module, probably towards the bottom, or I can move it up to the top. That labels that for you guys is what I was thinking for Canvas. Would that work? Is there anything that would be really easy for you to find? I was thinking like class meetings for like a title.
Yeah, no, that works fine. Thank you.
Okay, cool. And I can upload these actually pretty quickly, but when I record on my computer. It does this thing where it goes like out to the internet and then converts the file or something, then gets downloaded. Typically, I can upload within hours, but I like when this meeting ends tonight, it won't be the moment it ends. It might be like an hour or two later, but I can upload these quickly. And 100%, if you ever are like, hey, where's the Zoom thing? You guys could 100% text or email and be like, where is it? I could be like, oh, I'm waiting for this file, or hey, by this time I'll have it. But generally, I can just upload them like directly after or shortly after, so you guys see them quickly. You've been waiting in your iPhone. I can rename you. What do you got?
It might be, is it mine? My name is Naomi.
Naomi or Nah?
Nahomi.
Is that
Thank
better?
you.
There you go.
Yes. I had a question. Everything that we're talking about, is this an example of inferential stats? How we're taking and like drawing conclusions of different countries and different opinions, everything, does this tie back to inferential stats?
It does, because we're
Okay.
talking about like cost, which is quantitative, but then we're
Hmm.
inferring like our meaning, or we're talking about the experience, which is qualitative, but we're inferring the meaning. So
Right.
that
And our
that
different
does tie back,
opinions.
and that's why I'm going. Let's keep this conversation going because
Right.
it is what we're it is inferring how we go about those things. That's absolutely all related to statistics, data, parameters, etc. And
Yes.
sometimes we're generalizing. We're saying, well, I know somebody that had fill in the blank experience in this country, and then we're saying, well, it's probably like that for the whole population, and we're using a small sample of a person or a few people. A sample is anything that's not the population, but typically you want it to be proportional to the population,
Okay.
like fully representative. Like I I can't tell right now because a lot of people are on Zoom, but if like there were substantially less men or women in the population, I wanted your guys' opinion on something. I'd survey like way more of the men or women or all of them, and then less of the other gender because we wouldn't need to have data from everybody because the sample is supposed to be able to create the generalization based on enough people that's representative. So what was that? Who's the other iPhone person that spoke up and I can rename you? Someone else
What?
said the iPhone? I just have you. Are you muted? Okay.
But
Yeah,
thank you. That was really helpful. The conversation helped understand the description of stats more.
that's why we should meet once a week, I think. Because I
Yeah,
think
I
that'll
think
help
so
give you
too.
guys the context. And I, I'm glad to have a chance to get to meet everybody. I apologize if anything like wasn't making sense or if you guys had concerns. I think now that we all know we're going to meet and we're going to meet on Tuesdays, um, I think we're in a pretty good spot. Now, if anything randomly changes or a wrench gets thrown in there, I'll communicate that to you guys. But we can count on 6:30 to 9:30 is probably when I can meet with you guys, unless you all have a strong preference. But I'll record all these and I'll upload them. So, and then for attendance, I'll figure something out. Either you're doing this and or maybe some of the assignments or something to count for attendance, so that way that's tracking for everybody. So research methods. There's experimental, quasi-experimental, and correlational. Experimental, and which we're going to walk through in a moment, is like random assignment, cause and effect, control group versus experimental group. Quasi experimental is something you can't change, like like gender or culture, or something that's hard to change, or political affiliation, or if we want to look at cognition between like 20-year-olds and 40-year-olds, or memory. I can't suddenly wave a magic wand and make all of you decades younger or older. So it's quasi experimental if we were to survey everybody. Correlational, that is, you have two variables and they move like this with each away from each other, positive or negative, or together. We're measuring the strength of the relationship. So for example, there was an 83% correlation, which would be 0.83, in the UK between high levels of vitamin D and a lack of COVID symptoms. Does that mean that high levels of vitamin D prevent COVID? Not necessarily. But does that mean it's a bad idea to have high levels of vitamin D? Not necessarily. Or like SAT, ACT scores, if you score high on that, correlationally, you usually do well in college. But if you're a bad test taker, maybe that's unrelated. You cannot infer cause and effect from test scores. No, I'm not going to penalize you guys if you can't make the whole meeting. Like I want you all to know this. I'm a human being like everybody else, and I'm a reasonable human being. I'm not into penalizing you guys. And maybe it's not 6:30 to 9:30. Maybe it's 6:30 to 8. My goal would be to at least cover the content, and we see how much time we need for it. I've taught, like I said, a lot of stats before. Never specifically this class, but similar content. So we might need less time. But I've taught like all these things conceptually a lot. But the way I've taught it usually involved a lecture and walking through a worksheet. I think with the integration of Connect, there's going to be less of that. So we probably won't need 3 hours. I was just throwing that out there because I've needed 3 hours in the past. Maybe it's going to be 6:30 to 7:30 for an hour, and that's all it's going to be. But I definitely don't want anyone to feel like you have to rush or not to speak up. So hopefully that's helpful. So experimental design, that's cause and effect. High level of control to isolate cause and effect. We want to get rid of those extraneous variables. We want to satisfy requirements to be an experiment with manipulation, randomization, and comparison and control. Now I can give you an example of this, kind of controversial, but definitely an example. The National Institution of Health did a study, and I can certainly pull this up if you're interested, or you guys can certainly. Hang on, my computer's not letting me admit this person into the room. I'm not trying to go to the next thing. Admit. So manipulation. So like we have. So for example, if we wanted to see if students would score higher on tests by having caffeine, you would take a control group and an experimental group, and you would give them non-caffeinated and caffeinated cups, but you wouldn't tell them what they're taking, and then you would see if their scores were higher. So you would manipulate something like an independent variable. You would randomly assign stuff, and then you'd have a comparison or a control group that doesn't get the treatment. The controversial example is there's a very high correlation that they found. They found this. Well, I'll come back to that because we'll talk about that correlationally because it's not necessarily cause and effect yet. So I'll come back to that other example. But you're going to manipulate something like an independent variable. You're going to randomize it, so I'm not going to pick everybody or have a pattern. And then we're going to have a comparison or a control. So to continue to be an experiment, and 100% talk to me on the pace on these slides if I need to go forward, backwards, etc. We might look at a random assignment that renders groups equivalent, requirement 2. Must manipulate levels of an independent variable, requirement 1. The independent variable is manipulated to the proposed cause. For example, what's the effect of bold versus regular font on memory recall? So we would have to have at least 2 groups, requirement 3. Dependent variable, what is measured, proposed effect. Operational definition, how will the dependent variable be measured? Experimental group, exposure to the independent variable, bold the key terms in the short passage. Control group, not exposed to it, regular font, not that dark bold. And then we'd have something like a research question. Does the independent variable type of font cause a difference in the dependent variable recall. Is that starting to make sense for experimental? Not making sense? Ask questions. Hopefully I'm explaining that well. If I ever sound like Charlie Brown's teacher, you should tell me.
I
So,
think
what was that, Lucas? Or whoever speaking?
I think it's understand good.
So, to summarize, like we have our population, that's everybody. It's going to be really hard to survey the entire population, especially not America, because we got like 360 million people that live in this country, or even like a smaller student body. So we get a sample of people, and then we have the bolded conditions. Students read a short passage with 10 key terms in bold font, and record the number of key terms recalled correctly from the passage. Not bolded conditions, same thing, and then see if there's a difference. So you manipulate one variable called the independent variable, randomly assign participants to each level of the manipulated variable, randomly assign participants to 2 levels of bolding, measure a second variable called the dependent variable. The same variable is measured in each condition, and the difference between the groups is compared. Example, record the number of key terms correctly recalled from the passage in each condition. Does that summary make sense? Okay. So research methods, quasi-experimental, a non-manipulated variable, lack of assignment to random groups and or lack of control or comparison group. Like I said, it's something like, does political affiliation drive ethical decisions, for example? Well, people don't typically, wherever you find yourself on the political spectrum, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, etc., that typically doesn't change. So that's quasi-experimental. And we would just look at differences. We also don't have to have that random assignment to groups, and we don't have to necessarily even have a control group. Like there was a study done between high flavanol chocolate and preeclampsia and high blood pressure, and there was no relationship that they found in pregnant women. But there was no control group. It was just if they had higher low flavanol chocolate, they didn't have a group that didn't have any chocolate. It was more of a quasi experiment. For example, do boys and girls, independent variable, we can't change it from boy to girl with the magic wand, okay? Differ in number of aggressive behaviors, dependent variable. Are there differences between a 20 and 40-year-olds in reaction time? Deep independent variable, 20 and 40-year-olds. I can't wave a magic wand and change your age. A dependent variable, reaction time. Obviously, there's things like gender reassignment too, but generally speaking, these are not things we quickly can modify. That's why that's quasi-experimental. Does this make sense? Not make sense? Quasi-experimental. Alex, what do you got? Use your mic or use the chat, whatever you'd like. You're on mute if you're speaking. Okay, I got you. You're good. Do you want to put it in the chat? Something's up with your mic. We can't hear you. It went on and then went off again. Okay, I will keep moving. If you want to jump in, please do. So research methods, we have correlational.
I
Yeah,
wanted to say something. So essentially, it's just a lot harder to control the variables, and to simplify it.
Yeah, in quasi-experimental, we're looking for differences, but there's like an independent variable we can't manipulate age, for example. I can't suddenly make you 5 years older or younger or 20. But that's a good summary, the way you said that. Was there another question, or did that make sense for you and everybody else? So correlational, that's the direction of how they move and how closely related they are. Like what's the strength of those? So we have to look at like cause and effect. So what is the relationship between SAT scores X and freshman college GPA Y, for example? So that quantifies the strength and direction of a relationship between two or more variables. Variables are measured as they naturally occur. and lack of random assignment. There's a controversial study done by the National Institution of Health between COVID and CBD, which is not THC. CBD is legal in all 50 states. And they took two different studies and they injected COVID into people's lungs, and they gave one group CBD and one group they did not. Now, that's probably more experimental because we had a control and an experimental group. It's correlational if there's other factors we didn't account for, and we're seeing the relationship, but as potentially a CBD blocker of COVID because they did two studies, and they found that the people that had it in their system had mild symptoms or almost none. Controversial, but medical. So that's probably it's correlational if it just moves together. It's cause and effect if we think about all the variables and we don't miss any, and then we can start to isolate the idea of cause and effect. That's that biggest difference between experimental and correlational. You cannot imply cause and effect. Like, what is the relationship between SAT scores and freshman college GPA? It's usually if one's high, so is the other one, but that doesn't mean a high SAT score causes college GPA. Or, for example, wealth and good dental. Okay? Just because someone's wealthy doesn't mean they have good teeth, but they might be able to afford better health care to have better teeth. But that's more correlational. It doesn't mean one necessarily causes the other. Hopefully those examples are helpful. If not, jump in, or if you want more clarification. Scales of measurement. Proposed by S.S. Stevens in 1946. This has to do with basically the clarity of measurement. This starts very broad and then gets kind of more narrow. So you can use the acronym NOIR, nominal ordinal interval ratio, to think about it. And we're going to walk through that, but this determines the types of statistical analysis that you might want to do. So for example, nominal, identity or classification. We'll put them all up so you guys can see those all. So like an adjective that describes something, male, female, I had a good or bad experience at the hotel that I stayed at, or the flight, or whatever that is. It's like an adjective and it describes behavior. And there's some things we can do with that, but as we move towards quantitative, our last three, there's more tests we can do. Ordinal, rank or order, class rankings first through last. Interval, order and equal units, no true zero. Things like intelligence test scores. Interval, we can think about temperature too, for example. Ratio, order, equal units, and an absolute zero, like height. Like no one can be negative in height. You have to have, it's measured. I have some examples of all of these coming up in a few slides, but initially, as you see those definitions of NOIR, nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio, are there questions? Does that make sense, not make sense? Talk to me, or give me thumbs up, thumbs down, based on what you see here for the scales of measurement. Okay, I see a lot of thumbs up, so I'm going to assume that's correct. If it's not, speak up or use. So continuous versus discrete. Continuous, measured along a continuum, measured at any pace beyond the decimal point. That is the Olympic sprinter's time to finish the race. Discrete, separate and indivisible categories, whole numbers only, aka socioeconomic class. Quantitative versus qualitative. Quantitative varies by amount. Qualitative varies by form or class. So qualitative is always going to tell a story. Quantitative is always going to be a number. As you're looking at what you see there, does that make sense, not make sense? Are there questions on what you see on this slide? sorry. So here's a bunch of examples of different scales of measurement. So sex, male, female, discrete versus continuous, qualitative and nominal because it's storytelling. Season, spring, summer, fall, winter, discrete, qualitative, nominal. Number of dreams recalled, discrete, quantitative, ratio. Number of errors, discrete, quantitative, ratio. Duration of drug abuse in years, continuous, quantitative, and ratio. Ranking of favorite foods, discrete, quantitative, and ordinal. Because ordinal does not have to have necessarily the same space between the numbers. Ratings of satisfaction 1 to 7, discrete, quantitative, and interval. Because we started with 1. No true 0. Body type, slim, average, heavy, discrete, qualitative, and nominal. Again, storytelling. Score from 0 to 100 on the exam, continuous, quantitative, and ratio. Number of students in your class, discrete, quantitative, and ratio. Temperature degrees Fahrenheit, continuous, quantitative, and interval. Time in seconds to memorize a list, continuous, quantitative, and ratio. The size of a reward in grams, continuous, quantitative, and ratio. Position standing in line, discrete, quantitative, ordinal. Political affiliation, Republic, Democrat, Conservative, etc. Discrete, qualitative, and nominal. Type of distraction, auditory, visual, discrete, qualitative, and nominal. Letter grade, A, B, C, D, F, discrete, qualitative, ordinal. Weight in pounds of an infant, continuous, quantitative, and ratio. A college student's SAT score, discrete, quantitative, and interval. Number of lever pressers per minute, discrete, quantitative, and ratio. Does that help make that clearer for everybody? Okay, I'm going to. What was that?
I found it a little difficult to just take it all in and remember what each of them meant, but I think I might look over it later just to like, along with the previous slides of what they actually meant.
If you give me a moment, I might have something that I can not. This would just be for like our own working knowledge. I can pull up an activity that we can just kind of do, not for points, just to like talk through it. Give me just a second. I can probably pull something up that would probably help make that just a little bit more clear before you say, having you need to necessarily look over it. Why did they do that? Hang on. I'll be sharing in just a second here. I think this is what I want. It's yeah. But I want the other thing. Hang on. Yeah, that's what I want. Hang on. Let's look at this. Okay. And was it this one? Okay, yeah, let's do this one. Yeah. I think this, I have an activity we can do. For the first, like, 10 of them I have, I can show you guys the, actually, I just showed the 2. Hang on. Word. Or was that? Oh, come on. All right, let's do that, and then we'll do the other thing, and then maybe that'll help. All right, desktop 2. Can you guys see that okay? Did that work? You guys see the worksheet for identifying variables? Am I sharing okay? Let me see. All right. So I literally have the answers below. So let's just maybe walk through this and tell us what you guys think. This is not for homework. This is just to try to give us greater understanding. And then I'm going to do a smaller activity based on the feedback I just got on maybe us all thinking of some examples of types of variables besides the ones we just saw on the slide. And then that might make a difference just to give you a little bit more clarity. And then that'll probably call it a night unless there's additional questions or concerns, which are always okay. I'll 100% spend as much time as we need so that you're leaving with as much clarity as possible. So this is an example of some things that might be conducted in behavioral science. What do you think is the independent variable and the dependent variable on this first one? A researcher tests whether cocaine use increases impulsive behavior in a sample of cocaine dependent on cocaine inexperienced mice. Someone either put that in the chat or use the mic, and then we'll talk about the answer.
I'm guessing the dependent variable is cocaine. Like if the mice is consuming cocaine or not.
And then what's our dependent variable? You're on the right track.
Not the deep, yeah. And the independent one would be the actions of the mice and their their behavior.
You crossed it. You're close. So cocaine uses are independent variable, and the impulsive behavior is a dependent variable because it depends on the cocaine use. So the dependent variable is the outcome variable.
Oh yeah, I think I mixed them up.
Yeah, that's why I was bringing up the scenario so we could talk through it so it'll make sense for everybody. So how about the second one, Lucas and or anybody else? A professor tests whether students perform better on multiple choice or fill in the blank test format. What's our independent or quasi-independent variable? What's our dependent variable? We can, yeah, Naomi, what do you got?
Is it the independent variable that we lost it? Is the independent variable the test, and then the dependent variable the student taking the test?
You're really close.
I think the the dependent variable is how well the student performs at the test, but she was right on the type of test format.
Yeah. Type of test is independent. The performance is the dependent variable. We scroll down right there. Test format, independent, because that's being manipulated. And then the dependent variable, like how like the scores are, the differences in the preferences. That's it. Yeah. What about three? A researcher tests whether smoking by parents influences children's attitudes or smoking behavior. And is that independent or quasi-independent? Casper, is that right? Am I saying your name right?
Yeah, you're saying my name right. The independent variable, well, the quasi-independent variable would be whether the children's parents smoked, and the dependent variable would be the children's attitudes toward smoking.
Yeah, and it would be quasi-independent because we're not making them smoke or not smoke. Oh,
Yeah.
Simon, did you want to jump in before I show the answer? Because see your hands up, Alexandros.
Yes, I wanted to mention how I even type everything on the chat as well. I'm not sure if you want me to label them by numbers as well, just to be more precise. I said independent variable is whether the parents smoke, and the dependent variable is the children's attitudes towards smoking behavior.
So you guys are close. Parent smoking is quasi-independent because we're not manipulating whether or not they're smoking. They either are or they aren't, but we're not. That's not being changed. The behavior is just being stagnant and not modified. That's why it's quasi-independent. And then
Yes, I mentioned that on the chat. Can you please check?
Oh yeah, I'll take a look. Yeah, hang on. Oh yeah, nailed it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I can see
Thank you
that.
so
Yeah.
much. Let me know if you want me to number them next time so I can be more precise.
Yeah. Perfect. Either way, or you can post them. I'll keep that running so I can see that. A social scientist tests whether attitudes towards morality differ based on political affiliation, and in this case, Democrat or Republican. What's our independent or quasi-independent variable? What's our dependent variable?
It's kind of hard to see the question with the. Never mind. Sorry.
Oh.
Okay.
Is it number 5? Because I'm having a
It's number
iPad.
4.
I'm on this one.
I think it's that the political affiliation is quasi independent variable, with the dependent variable being their attitudes towards morality.
Yeah, nailed it. Right there. Yep. And then what you type, yeah, that makes sense. Perfect. How about number 5? A health researcher tests whether the number of calories in a meal changes liking for that meal among a sample of adults. What do you think?
The number of calories would be an independent variable, with the dependent calories being how much they like it. It's exactly the same what Alexander said.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we do
you guys
agree.
got it. Yeah. Yeah, you guys got it. Okay, cool.
Thank
How
you,
about
Professor. Can you see everything on the chat? I
yeah?
try to.
So I have two screens. So I'm looking here on the worksheet, and I'm looking at what you're writing here, and that made sense. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So we'll unhighlight this one, and then here's our next one. Number of calories in the meal, independent variable.
Independent variable is the the size of the reward, and the level of dopamine is dependent. And Alexander's typed the same thing. Yeah.
The size of the reward, independent. Is presumed to change dopamine in the brain, dependent. There you go. Perfect. All right. Let's go like this. A student tests whether tutoring from a remedial tutor improves performance on a standardized exam. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Independent variable tutoring from a remedial tutor, whether that happens or not, because that is an independent variable that's manipulated, presumably cause improved performance on standardized exams, dependent variable. Yeah. All right. What do I like? I feel like this will work. No, they didn't work. Researchers test whether the type of distraction. Oh, you're welcome, Alexandros. During recall, auditory or visual, influences the number of words participants are able to recall from a list. I'm assuming you're not talking to us, Naomi. That's fine. I see your camera. I'm assuming that's an off-camera thing.
So I have it here as well.
Yeah. That's different types of distraction, independent variable. Yep, the type. Yeah, you got that right. Are presumed to cause different levels of recall, dependent. Yeah, that would work. Yeah, what you wrote too makes sense. Well, how about 9? A cultural researcher tests whether individuals from different cultures share or differ in the belief that dreams have meaning.
The the people from different cultures. Uh, yeah, I think it should be independent, and the belief system is the dependent variable.
Are you sure? Because
Mm.
Alexandros is probably more accurate.
I mean, though, though you can't control, you could. I mean, I think it's independent because you can choose the people from the diff. Maybe I'm wrong, actually. Yeah, Alexander was right. Yep.
Because you can't
Yes, I
really change
mentioned.
the culture.
I mean, you don't change the culture. You could change. I was thinking you could change the particular people from the culture. I was wrong. Never mind.
But I like how deep you're thinking about it. That's good. Thinking this much in depth when we're just kind of scratching the surface will probably carry things quite well for you during the course of the
Yeah,
term as we get into more complicated stuff. So that's good. You're still like really
you
thinking
can't.
about it. That's really
I
good.
mean, in a way, you could control the culture because you could actually choose the people who participate. I think, but yeah,
But you wouldn't. But
you
the idea is that we wouldn't be but we can't change what culture they're from. And
just that they're from different. Oh,
and we and from an like an experimental standpoint, you wouldn't want to that could be like a biased research. Like if you just said, I only want people from this culture.
yeah.
But I still see what kind of where your mind's going. You're really thinking about it in depth, which is not a bad thing, especially this early on in the term. Um, what about this one? A psychologist tests whether employee satisfaction is different among employees working different shifts, day or night shifts. Independent, quasi-independent, type of shift work, day or versus night, depending on employee satisfaction. Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on, Alexandros. Because we
Oh, thank you
didn't
so
tell them
much.
to work different shifts. They just did. That's why. You have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yes, my bad. Let me just put it lower.
Okay. So does that help with the types of variables based on what you're seeing here? Here, guys, we're going to do something for you to make life a little bit easier. Oh, there's too many. Oh, that's... Okay, hang on. That's still too many. Well, I was trying to put it in the chat, but I mean, you guys did all get it right, so. And I'm still recording the screen share. There's just too many. The chat doesn't like the number of characters. So. Here, what we could do though is we could do this for you. We could just go take 3, send. We'll take the next 3 and put it in the chat for you. Control C. Okay. And then we'll take the next 3 because that shouldn't be too many characters. Control C. Control V. And then we'll take our last one. Control C. Control V. Now the last thing that I've done before that has helped students, and you all let me know what's going to make sense to you. Give me just a second to pull up the other worksheet here. Is now this one doesn't really have answers, but I'll know if you say them, or I can pull up the PowerPoint. But trying to leave you guys with a sense of types of variables. Let me make this big here. So we went through all this, okay? Now, could you all think of some examples of these types of variables that aren't on the slides? What would be some nominal variables? Adjectives, just adjectives that tell a story.
Favorite. I don't exactly remember, but favorite color of a group of people.
Yeah, colors. Yeah, or a favorite color. That'd be a nominal. That'd be a nominal. Yeah, yeah, that would make sense. This is like a label is qualitative and nominal. It's just simply going to tell a story. Um, types of cars on the freeway. Stuff like that.
Alexandros posted some
Oh,
examples.
what did he post?
But he
Yes,
said,
I've already prepared the nominal, and I can do the rest of them as well if you want me to.
Let's see if let's see that's right. PlayStation. Yep, that's right. Type of pet, sure. Car color, yeah. What about ordinal? Alexandros or anybody else? Just the ideas of maybe we think of a few more examples. You all leave with more clarity tonight. You know. Sure. What do you got?
Can I go?
Yeah, sure.
So I will say with order categories for ordinal, I will say customer satisfaction rating, for example, poor, fair, good, or excellent. Another one I would say education level, high school, bachelor's, master's, doctorate, or even PhD. And for example, I would say even for food, spiciness preference. I know that's a thing in Greece as well. I'm not sure for the US. Mild, medium hot, or extra hot. I know we have that with chips as well, and I'm sure they have that in Mexico. If I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they do that.
And here in the states, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
perfect.
Because we have an order, and it can have a number to it, and we could make the case that some of what you said may be nominal, but because you're talking about like the specificity of the order, that would still be potentially ordinal. So that does make
Okay,
sense. Yeah.
perfect. Do you want to type that on the chat as well? I can start typing.
Yeah, sure. That'd be great. Yeah.
Dr. Mack, would ordinal also be like letter grade, like A, B, C, D, F?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's really great too because that's showing the order and they're not necessarily in the same space because like alphabet wise, right? Or the percentages could vary. So like um you want to spiciness preferences, yeah. See the preference that drives it or the educational level that would drive it. That makes sense. Poor, good, excellent, yeah, because that's an order, but there's not a specific amount of space between it. That makes sense. Yeah. What about intervals? Remember, interval, same level of spaces, no true zero. So we either have to start at like remember intervals like room temperature and sure, time of day on a 12-hour clock. Okay. Score on a personality test, introversion, extroversion. That might be nominal. Well, I guess it would depend. The scale could work, but I like your first two. The third one, I don't know if it would work because if we go back and just to like kind of cross reference here, give me just a second to pull that back up so you guys can see that. Share. Share. If we go back and look at our criteria here, where is it? Hang on. Order in equal units. So I think is a little subjective on the personality test for interval because we don't know, like, because the scale's unclear. Like, I guess if I was looking at the scale, I might be with you on the interval, but I would probably want to see the scale for your last example, Alexandros, if that makes sense.
so, oh, so it'd be, so ordinal is, of course, just a rank, any sort of like ranking of thing, a ranking that doesn't have to be, it could be numbers, it doesn't have, it's ranking things. And
Right.
interval is measurable stats. So the score under personality testing, I think, would be more ordinal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be, yeah, rank or order because there's not equal units.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. Yeah. I would probably hesitate to call that interval. What about ratio? order equal units at an absolute zero. That is our stopping point. We don't go past zero. Number of hours spent studying, because you really wouldn't negatively study, sure. Age in years, you're not really, you're zero and above. Distance, yeah, distance run in miles. That would make sense.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor.
So hopefully that's making more sense for everybody. Um, that's probably where I would say would be like our stopping point, because that's just kind of basic scratching the surface, the unit for the week, etc. And then, like I said, if you guys could just give me like a day or two, probably well before the weekend, I'll get that all aligned with some of the stuff with the assignments, the publishers, and the clarity. I just said it's an integration issue that should be fixed tomorrow. My Zoom meeting's at like 5, so I would say well before we even get into Saturday, that should all be looking pretty good. And then for this, I can upload the recording in the next hour or two. I haven't eaten dinner yet. It might be a few hours, but it can certainly happen today. If you don't see it by tomorrow morning, you could totally reach out to me. Does everyone have my phone number besides my email address? I think you all have my email, right? Are there other questions, anything we covered tonight that I could make more clear, or any specific concerns about the class before we call it a night?
I don't have a question on the material necessarily, but I work Tuesday afternoons, so I don't know if I'll be able to make the Zoom meeting. Do you take attendance for points, or is it okay if I just look back at the recording and like take notes and stuff?
You can look back at the recording and take notes. What I'm thinking could work for attendance would be I could take attendance like normal, and then if you don't make it and you look at the recording and you email me your notes, and I can be reasonable, like we could say within several days. If you needed a full week, I could do that. I don't think it should be weeks and weeks or anything. Um, I could use that email to track attendance. Like, you know what? They watched it on their own. Like, I could do something like that to work with you for
Okay,
attendance.
yeah,
And I can
because I think
retroactively go back in Canvas and go, okay, Ashlyn sent this to me. Would like, would that work, guys? Like, within like the week or within like several days to email me for attendance so that we don't get
yeah,
like crazy behind on. And if God forbid something crazy happens with your work schedule or your life, I just want you to communicate with me like, hey, I need an extra day because of this and this and this that unexpectedly happened.
that would work for me because I think I get off at like 7:30, so I'll probably
So,
have to do that.
I could do
so
that.
are we?
And if there's a strong idea on a certain time of the day, I can do that. I know I can do 6:30 to 7:30. That's why I suggested it with the recording. If everyone's like, "Oh no, 7:30 or 7 would work." And see, tonight what did we spend? We spent about 90 minutes. So we're probably not spending 3 hours. We're probably spending like an hour or two a week making things clear is what I would guesstimate about. Go ahead, Lucas, or anybody else, or
Right.
Alexandra. So like,
So we would usually stick to Tuesdays, not Thursdays.
yes, I did Thursday because I the feedback from you guys early in the week, maybe you think we needed to set up a meeting, but I'm thinking Tuesdays. I know I can do Tuesdays all semester. I think if we did Thursdays, I'd have to meet with you guys a little bit later at night
Uh,
than
uh,
like.
uh, I mean, for me, my work schedule is pretty flexible. I just would have to know in advance, and if it's like something consistent, then I can just put that, and it's good for me.
My plan is Tuesdays because I know I can do Tuesdays.
It works for me.
I Right now I'm able to do Thursday, but like in a week or two at this time, I'll have a different thing going on that wouldn't let me meet at this time. I'd be able to meet on Thursday, but my gosh, I think it'd be like crazy late. I want to say it would be like 10 or 11 at night, and y'all have lives. I think that'd be too late to be meeting for a Zoom meeting. So, Alexandra, do you have something you wanted to add, or is
Yes, Professor. Thank you so much. So I wanted to ask you a couple of stuff. So I know for me right now it's 2:30 a.m. because I'm in Greece. I know I'll be back on the 15th. I fly on the 15th, so I know it takes about a couple of hours, almost a day, or so maybe probably I will be back in the US on the 16th. So if I'm having any concerns, can I please email you? I know I can send you my letter of commendation for my disability as well. That is verified by the Disability Services of North Central College. So if something is wrong, because I know we do record I'm supposed to record. I'm using Jamworks. It was given to me a free membership from the North Central College to transcribe everything and then take notes. So if something happens, for example, a surgery or an eye treatment day, I can give you a doctor's note as well. I do have that, but I will always try to be here present and participate on the class. I wanted to ask you whether we're going to have any homework because I know you mentioned in the beginning that we're not, or the beginning of this meeting, you mentioned that already that you're not really going to post anything yet. But because I like to stay in top of stuff, I'm still going to ask you the same question. So, am I good for tonight?
You're good for tonight. I'm not going to have anything due until I have a chance to meet with the publisher, which will be tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And I'm going to push anything out for at least several days to a week or so before we actually start having due dates hit. Because that'll give you everybody a chance to digest this, get aligned with the class, not have any pressure. Um, and I'll probably talk about due dates and the specificity of assignments on Tuesday. Because I think on Tuesday I'll
Perfect.
know. So,
Perfect.
whatever. So, just so everyone's clear, I'm in charge of the class, not Canvas. So we can ignore what you see in Canvas just temporarily till I have a chance to meet with them tomorrow. I'll make it make sense, due dates, etc. So don't go in there and do any extra work or anything you see at this point because I'm going to revise it accordingly and potentially make it a little bit easier on you guys than what's out there now because of what I'm doing with the alignment. So just don't do anything until we meet on Tuesday, and I will give you updates on Tuesday on Zoom, and you don't have to worry about anything until at least that time. Now, you mentioned the 16th. I do want to tell you all next week on the 16th, on Friday, I'm flying to see my dad in Texas, and I'm coming back on Monday on the Martin Luther King holiday. I am still available. I can still take calls and emails, but I will be spending a little bit of time with my dad over that weekend. So when I'm flying, it's of course going to be in airplane mode, and I probably won't be doing a ton of teaching while I'm spending time with him. So I might be a little bit delayed over the next weekend after we have another um, class to meet. But don't feel like you can't reach out to me. I just wanted you to be like, oh, wait a second, it's been like 4 hours. Like, what's going on? Probably hanging out with dad. But I'm certainly not ignoring any of you guys ever. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. And of course, I'm going to work with you on the travel. I've been over to that part of the world, and I know it's a very long flight, and then the jet lag and the time change. It's I get that. Don't worry about anything until at least Tuesday, and the due dates will not be on Tuesday. They will be later in the week or into the following week, and then we'll get on more of like a cycle and a schedule. And always feel like you guys can approach me. I'm reasonable and I'm going to do my best to help you earn the A or B that you're looking for. I still have to grade you fairly across the board, but don't feel like you can't talk to me. If you have a question or a concern on anything, you text me, you call me, you email me, and I'll get back to you. And you nudge me if I don't get back to you quick enough, like within 24 hours or so. What else do we have for questions, concerns, comments, etc.?
Professor Mack, not a question really, but I came in a little bit later,
Yeah.
like 7 minutes after, and I think I missed attendance. I just wanted to make sure if you could get my name, please.
I can actually do that quite easily. If you tell me what section you're in, it'll be easier to find you.
I am in your business 265.
I appreciate that. Is it not, is it OA3? Is it
Oh,
OA? Because that's what I'm
what do you mean
specific
section?
because there's three sections, and
Uh,
it's easier for me to be able to. I can find the attendance. I can just look. I got them all up here. But if you know which section you're in, I can find you quicker. That's all. Is it? Do you know which
oh, I'm
one?
sorry. I thought you meant just like the name of the class. That's why
No,
I said
there's
business
so just so everyone's
265.
on the same page. That's why the Zoom is so big. I have
Okay.
three sections of business and economic stats: OA1, OA3, and OA4. And I invited all of you from all sections to come. So
That makes more sense.
when you say that, I'm like, okay, but which one?
Oh yeah, that was silly of me. Now I get it. I'm not sure what section, but OA1 actually. I'm sorry. I
Okay,
see it here.
yeah, because it should say it on campus. Okay, so
Yes, I see.
I mean, I can look at just I find you quicker
No,
by
now I know something new too, so that's okay.
going into the section. And like I said, I don't. We could have separate meetings for all three classes, but if we're going to cover the same content, I don't see that
That makes
making a lot
sense.
of sense. You know,
Right.
it's just that
Hey,
when I do attendance, it takes a little bit longer because it's three sections. Where are you?
I'm in the same boat as well. I think I missed the attendance. I'm in the same section.
Okay, hang on, Dante. All right, Dante. Okay, I'm gonna mark you here
Thank
and
you.
on time. And Naomi, where are you? NL. No, I got you. You didn't walk in as late as you thought you did.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Or you did, but I was still like talking and we hadn't done attendance yet. So,
Okay, perfect.
all right. Everyone has my cell phone and my email at this point, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And never feel like you're bothering me. My job is to teach you. I'm your teacher. It's totally okay to reach out. Okay. So don't feel like you can't reach out. Now try to do it during normal hours, like 9, 10 in the morning to like maybe around the same time at night. If you text me at 2 in the morning, I'm probably sleeping. And please only do that if it's an emergency. But other than that, super pleasure to meet everyone. And I look forward to hopefully getting you all to that A or B you're looking for to earn in the class. Any other final questions, thoughts, concerns before we call it a night? Guys, gals, theys, thems, anybody?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, have a great night, everybody. I'll get this recording posted.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor.
You're welcome.